the raise hand feature below. That is for that. And secondly, we encourage you to turn on your visuals if where you are is comfortable enough to undo your visuals. So if you are comfortable where you are and it's easy for you to do, you can turn on your visuals. You can turn on your visuals. And lastly, we encourage that participants have their devices properly named for the sake of attendance. And at the end of this webinar, there is going to be a certificate of attendance. There's going to be a certificate of attendance for all our participants. However, the certificate of attendance will be awarded to our members who participated and also pay a token of just 5,000 naira. And for those abroad, that's about $3 to $4 for the certificate of participation. Certificate of participation. It is my great joy to proceed to the introduction of our speaker for today. Our speaker for today is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators, ICMC. He is also a fellow in Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. He has a doctoral research fellow. He is a doctoral research fellow at Communication and Language Arts CLA at the Department of University of Nigeria. Sorry, University of Ibadan, Nigeria. And lastly, on introduction of our speaker is also the branch chair, the honorable branch chair of the Abuja branch. Distinguished participants, please join me as I welcome His Excellency, Mr. A.R.A. Adering Noye. Your Excellency, you are welcome, sir. Please, can you unmute your mic? Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, distinguished participants.
Good afternoon, sir. Please, will it be convenient to switch on your visual, sir?
Okay. Let me see. Okay. I'm trying to see how if I can get my presentation on the system, but I guess I'll have to make do with the phone for now. But if you permit
I'll be glad to share if you can quickly send it to me so I can help you.
Great. I think that would be better. Let me.
For quick access, you can just drop it to my probably WhatsApp or email.
Yes, I will do that. So let me just go off a bit, and I'll do that in a few minutes.
Thank you, sir. So while our speaker is on that, if you're joining us recently, we encourage all our participants to share the link so that other mediators across the world can participate from this webinar. We have our participants from different parts of the world, from Rwanda, from Port Harcourt, from US. So if you can do well to share the link. And as well, if you find it difficult to join, we are live now on YouTube. We are live on YouTube. I'll be sharing the YouTube link shortly on the chat box so that we can also join from YouTube in case you have any problem to join here on Zoom. So I just dropped the link for the YouTube on the chat box. So if you can also do it to share it to people that may be finding it difficult to join us on the Zoom. I apologize for the break in transmission. So while we wait for our speaker, if you're here to drop in the chat box where you're joining us from, please do well to do that. Just type your name and tell us where you're joining from. A very good example is Joshua joining from Abuja, James from London, or Tijani from Abeokuta, or anywhere you're joining from. So today we'll be discussing mediation as a preventive measure for insurgency. Mediation as a preventive measure for insurgency. And we already have in the house our distinguished speaker, Mr. A.R.A. Aderinoye, to guide us on how mediation can be applied as a preventive measure for insurgencies. How mediation can be applied. So I'm trying to get this slide now so that we can proceed. Your Excellency, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here. I'm still
Okay,
on
okay,
it.
sir.
Just 2 minutes.
Okay. You're welcome. I can see Madi from Benin and Uche from Lagos. You're welcome. I can see Kotse from Jos. Thank you for joining us. Vivian from Owerri. You're welcome. You're welcome to the webinar. This is, I can see Lady Ogechi from Abuja. You are welcome. You're welcome. Madam Eileen Kalu, Your Excellency. You're welcome, ma. From Abakaliki. You're welcome, ma. You're welcome, ma. So we'll be kickstarting shortly with our speaker, Mr. Aderinoye. Have you been able to send it, sir?
It's just moving now. It's on now. I'm sending it.
Okay.
Apologies for the delay, please. Are we finished, please?
Yes, I've gotten it. I'm showing it now.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, I've gotten it. Yes, I've gotten it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, I've gotten it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see. Thank you very much.
Yes, I've gotten it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see. Thank you very much.
Yes, I've gotten it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see.
Your Excellency, I've shared it. I want to now, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I can see.
Please, can you proceed? I've shared it. I want to now, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I can see.
Please, can you proceed? I've shared it. I want to now, sir.
I'm having a kind of echoing back or something.
If you can mute your mic or log out. Please, can you proceed? I've shared it. I want to now, sir.
I'm having a kind of echoing back or something.
If you can mute your mic or log out. Please, can you proceed? I've shared it. I want to now, sir.
I'm having a kind of echoing back or something.
If you can mute your mic or log out. Please, can you proceed? I've shared it. I want to now, sir.
I'm having a kind of echoing back or something.
If you can mute your mic or log out. Please, can you proceed? I've shared it. I want to now, sir.
I'm having a kind of echoing back or something.
If you can mute your mic or log out. Please, can you proceed? I've shared it. I want to now, sir.
I'm having a kind of echoing back or something.
If you can mute your mic or log out. Please, can you proceed? I've shared it. I want to now, sir.
It's not from my end or I don't. I can't. Yeah, the same thing from my end here. The noise is terrible. Joshua, is there something we can do about this noise echoing back or something? Yeah, the same thing from my end here. The noise is terrible. I don't know. Yeah, at least I can hear you faintly. Joshua, is there something we can do about noise echoing back or something? Kind of delayed response. I don't know. At least I can hear you faintly. Joshua, is there something we can do? Kind of delayed response. I can hear you faintly. Joshua, is there something we can do? Kind of delayed response. I can hear you Yeah, hello. I think the noise is out now.
Yes.
Can we hear me?
No, it was. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Our dear participants, we apologize for the inconveniences sometimes. Device could make things difficult. We apologize, please.
Yeah.
If you can see my screen, please proceed, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, distinguished participants, and I welcome you to one of these wonderful session. Today we'll be talking about mediation as a preventive measure for insurgency. A presentation at the monthly webinar of the Institute. Now, in the course of this session, we'll be going through some definitions of some of the terms that we have in insurgency, mediation, how they connect, some of the causes of insurgency, the effect of insurgency, and the types of mediation that we have, what is mediation itself, then the mediation process, and we're going to look at an overview of the nexus between mediation and insurgency, and some of the techniques that we adopt in mediation in addressing, and see how we can use this to address insurgency issues. Then mediation as a tool for preventing insurgency as well. We'll be looking at that briefly. And of course, what are the benefits that we can derive from using mediation that insurgency. Then we'll have our conclusion, and then we have an interactive session. Of course, this is not to say that this session is not going to be an interactive one. We want it to be as interactive as possible, and we hope we can make the best out of it, of our time. Yes. So, as a way of introduction, what is mediation? We are all professionals and we're practitioners of mediation. We are familiar with the form mediation, but for the purpose of this session, we'll be looking at mediation as from 3 to 4 perspectives. One is the mediation as a form of dispute resolution. A mediation is a form of dispute resolution that allows individuals and organizations involved in a dispute to work together towards resolving their own differences. That's what we do mostly in mediation. Mediation could also be described as a process which is facilitated by a neutral third party who does not make decisions for the parties, but helps them to reach an agreement. So as to get mediation is also aims to promote reconciliation, it aims to promote settlement, and it aims to promote compromise between conflicting parties. We could also define mediation as a negotiation that is facilitated by a third party neutral and is mostly structured as well as interactive. It could also be viewed as a party-centered process, which is focused primarily upon the needs, rights, and interests of the parties that is mostly traded to arrive at an agreement at the end of the day. We also look at it as a negotiated settlement or a negotiated agreement or solution to a particular problem. It is achieved with the aid of open communication in a situation, in an open atmosphere, whereby people address their issues, lay it bare on the table, and they are able to come up with an agreement after addressing all the necessary issues through the help of a neutral third party. That's mediation as a negotiation. Now, we can also have mediation as prevention, which is more directly up to our focus of discussion today. This is when we look at mediation from the perspective of prevention, is a situation whereby we are proactive. Is defined as a process whereby conflict or dispute is addressed before it fully manifests, especially before it becomes a violent situation whereby a lot of chaos in the place. So it could also be viewed from the perspective of helping or assisting parties to identify likely or underlying issues or problems ahead, so that we can quickly nip it in the bud. That is when we are proactive, we are futuristic in our thinking, in our mediating. We are not waiting for it to escalate before we, jump into it to try and see how we can help parties to come up with a resolution. Similarly, it could be seen as a process of addressing future conflict through reality testing. Of course, when we do a relevant analysis or appraisal of situation, we can always, and of course, we are futuristic. We can always, address and nip in the bud as early as possible a crisis before it actually fully manifests. So, generally speaking, mediation broadly refers to any situation where a third party neutral helps others to reach an agreement. This it does because it is typically voluntary. Mediation process is essentially voluntary. It has a structure that we have to follow, a schedule or timetable, and as well as various dynamics, which makes its process private and strictly confidential. But possibly this is also, despite the fact that it is private, it could also be possibly enforced by the law. Now, what is insurgency? Of course, we are familiar with it in this part of the world. As Nigerians who've been battling with Boko Haram insurgency for a while now, over a decade. We're battling with insurgency. Now, insurgency is widely referred to as an armed rebellion or conflict or uprising against a government or an authority. In most cases, it often involves irregular warfare tactics such as guerrilla warfare, sabotage, or subversion. The fact that it's a terrible situation that is better imagined than experienced. It mostly starts repeatedly with bottled up grievances here and there and manifests as a full conflict over time. Now, how do we use mediation to address this? Now, let's understand what are the causes of insurgency. Insurgency, in most cases, are caused by absence of good governance. Number one, when there are economic disparities, when there is social marginalization, political grievances by the group, and sometimes religious extremism. These are some of the causes of insurgency. Now, how does it affect us? We have a practical experience of it in this part of the world, in Nigeria. The number one or the immediate effect of insurgency is the loss of life. We have loss of lives. People die in their thousands. I think by now, with Nigeria, we've lost over 13,000 lives to 13,000 lives to insurgency. We have displacement. We have IDPs here and there, all over the country, especially in the Northeast, where we have experienced the effect of the insurgency. We have economic disruption. Farmers are unable to go to their farms. As a result, goods are not available in the market, or there is fear here and there. People are unable to go about their businesses with free will. All of this, there is social unrest. There is social unrest everywhere. You know, our life, it's very difficult in the Northeast, especially in Nigeria Northeast. People find it difficult to go about their businesses, their lives and businesses. Constant development, as a result, it affects the growth and development that can take place, meaningful development that can take place in these areas of the world. And eventually, we have a lack of a peaceful society. Now, how can we use mediation to ameliorate this effect? Just as we have said earlier, by talking about some of the definitions of mediation, mediation can be used as a form of dispute resolution if we are proactive. We can foresee some of these problems happening and quickly arrest the situation by addressing those issues, those disputes that can, if left unattended to, can become a big crisis. They can lead to insurgency as we have today. By using mediation, we can prevent this. You know, when we adopt mediation as a form of negotiation, we can use it to negotiate and have an agreement that both parties, warring parties, can agree to. That when we use mediation as a prevention, we can also prevent some of these crises. When we use mediation appropriately, we can have a peaceful society. Mediation helps us to have a peaceful society. Mediation is also seen as a pathway to sustainable peace, whereby when we are able to achieve peace today, we will be able to sustain it over time. Then what are the types of mediation that we have? There are quite a number of types of mediation that are in existence. But suffice to say that I try to narrow down to these 7 types. One, we have the facilitative, which is the traditional type of mediation whereby the third neutral help parties to arrive at their own agreement. We also have the evaluative mediation, which is a kind of holistic, yet a bit suggestive in terms of the way it works. We also have the transformative mediation, which is empowering disputants, that is parties. We empower them to be able to arrive at their own agreement. We also have preventive mediation, that is being proactive and thinking ahead to see that, oh, in future, this is likely to be a problem, and we try to arrest it right now or today. We have the e-mediation, that is the internet-assisted due to distance, or maybe parties do not even want to come together to be at the same space. And so we can have mediation facilitated for them through the internet. We have family mediation, a whole lot of issues that has to do with family. We can always use mediation to address some of these issues before they become serious crises that we will not be able to handle. We also have the court-mandated mediation, which is a mediation at the instance of the court. If the court asks parties to go for mediation to resolve their crisis or conflict. This is mostly practiced in a situation whereby we have, so that we can have speedy settlement of matters between parties. Now, how do we harness the nexus between these 2 terminologies, that is mediation and insurgency? There is a serious nexus, because if both are well managed, we can have the goal of mediation being achieved. A conducive atmosphere where mediation is allowed to thrive and flourish would definitely bring about accelerated dispute or conflict resolution, dispute or conflict prevention. We can also prevent dispute if we deploy fully mediation in its full-fledged. We can also enhance an atmosphere of peace, and of course, improve interpersonal as well as communication or interaction. Insurgency, on the other hand, insurgency is generally seen as the direct opposite of what mediation seeks to achieve. That is, mediation seeks to bring about a situation of peace. We want to have a peaceful atmosphere, whereas insurgency is the direct opposite of it. It's a chaotic situation. It's about unsafe periods or moments, and so insurgency is about direct opposite of mediation. What mediation seeks to achieve? It's about conflict. It's about dispute. It's about crisis, disagreement here and there, an escalated state of turmoil, a state of disharmony, and an intense situation of crisis as well as discord. Mediation is synonymous with peace, resolution, harmony, while insurgency, on the other hand, is tantamount to dispute, discord, and disharmony. This shows a very contrasting relationship between these 2 terminologies. Now, the mediation process. How do we go about the mediation process? We need, number one, there has to be preparation. We need to prepare to ensure that, okay, we're doing it. In most cases, the preventive mediation, for instance, this is something that a whole lot of us, engage in doing it. But again, most times we do it unconsciously, not deliberately. So this we have to, be more conscious about it and do it more deliberately. And that is the only way we can be able to deploy mediation to avert or prevent the likes of the insurgency that we are now battling with as a nation. Preparation, we need to prepare. Then we have the opening statement in a situation whereby we have we want to deploy mediation for prevent crisis or conflict. That is what mediation does. It helps us to have a peaceful society. It helps us to be able to address problems that we have. So problem solving is also part of the process of mediation. And that's the only way. When we analyze and appreciate the problem, then we'll be able to come up or design a solution, a befitting solution to the problem. Then eventually we'll come up with agreement. We have an agreement, which is what we we set out to achieve, an agreement that all parties will be in agreement with. Then the closure of when we have a formal setting of mediation. Now, what are the techniques that we adopt in mediation? When we mediate, we have active listening. A good listener can make a good mediator. It's very important, very key, that we listen to parties, allow them to vent, to express themselves, and take note of all the nuances, the spoken and unspoken ones, so as to be able to help or assist parties to arrive at their own agreement. Then reframing, as much as possible, we make sure that we allow the process to be a peaceful one, not one that can easily degenerate. Anything or any form of language or thing that can affect the process, we must, ensure that we prevent it, so as to ensure that we are able to achieve the goal of the process. Brainstorming. While listening, we also engage in deep thinking. There must be a very deep interest in brainstorming, such that within little time we can easily, come up with useful and beneficial tips to assist the situation or the mediation process. The reality testing, some of the norms and nuances of our environment, we need to be familiar with them to help us in helping others, that is the parties, to arrive at an agreement. Now, this is more specific and direct to the topic of today, that is mediation as a preventive measure. This is what we can deploy in helping in a way for us to be able to prevent insurgency. As we have it, perhaps if we have adopted some of these key points, maybe Nigeria won't be where we are today, especially with respect to the situation of things in Nigeria Northeast. Early engagement. There are the what do you call it? The indicators, early indicators, for us to be able to identify well ahead of time some of these indicators that will tell us that this is a recipe of crisis if care is not taken, if you don't attend to these on time. So there are a whole lot of bottling up of grievances that are allowed to fester. They develop and now escalate into insurgency as we have it today. The Boko Haram insurgency that we have in Nigeria Northeast is not something that started in one day on just few months. It is something that has been, a lot of grievances that have been, been happening over time, which have been neglected. And so because we didn't engage them early enough until it got to the late hour, and so it has already escalated or has manifested fully before we could confront it. And well, we thank God we're making progress. We hope that we will get out of it very soon. So early engagement is very important. That is a way for us to use mediation as a preventive measure. Then addressing the root causes of conflict, being truthful and focused on the crux of the matter, the root causes, and not to, to be shying away from issues. We must be able to identify those issues and address them to the root. That's the only way we can be able to prevent, also all of this conflict from escalating to the point of becoming insurgency. Promoting inclusivity such that we ensure that all stakeholders are carried along. All stakeholders that may be involved in that particular issue are carried along. And all, no stone, we must ensure that no stone is left unturned and no party is left involved or is left out of the engagement. So we must ensure that we promote inclusivity and ensure that all stakeholders are involved in the process. We must have at the back of our mind that we want to build trust, because it is the breakdown of trust that led to the conflict in the first place. So once there is no trust, there is no confidence, we don't have confidence, a party does not have confidence in the other, then there will be breakdown of trust, and as such, the conflict develops and it continues like that till it eventually escalates. We have to prevent the escalation. We must prevent escalation of the crisis. And if we want to really use mediation to prevent insurgency, it has to be early. It's not something we can allow to fester before we address. Now, what are the benefits that we derive when we use mediation? Generally, essentially, we have a whole lot of benefits to derive from the use of mediation. And that is why it's important, even in our individual self, deploying the mediation tools goes a long way in helping us as an individual to achieve, towards achieving our goals, not to talk of as a people or as a group or as a nation. It's limitless. The benefits that we stand to gain from deploying mediation is limitless. Even if it is just the peace of mind, that is enough. It's enough for us. So we have reduced violence. When we deploy mediation, we definitely have reduced violence. The conflicts are reduced. The disputes are reduced. The chaos are reduced. So this will help us to have a reduced environment or situation of violence. Two, we have sustainable peace. We are able to achieve a peaceful atmosphere that we can always build on, that will give us room for further development or development, as it were. Then it helps us to also rebuild trust and relationships. Relationships within the family, within the group, within the office, workplace, and of course, eventually in the society. So these are part of the benefit that we stand to derive when we deploy mediation in our day-to-day activities. Cost effectiveness. See the kind of amount of money running into billions and even trillions by now of naira that we could have saved if the insurgency, the Boko Haram insurgency, had been prevented. The kind of cost that we now have to incur in prosecuting the counterinsurgency by the Nigerian military. If we have deployed the mediation right from the beginning, as a people, we would have been able to save ourselves this very heavy or huge expenditure on protruding this counterinsurgency. So cost effectiveness, mediation helps us to save money and save a whole lot of money, great deal. 5, it helps us to also empower community. For instance, if we had foresaw this, the insurgency happening, we would have been able to bring the communities together, bring all the few people who are aggrieved together and help collectively to build a society of peace, whereby we'll have rapid development that will be beneficial to the country and the community. In conclusion, indeed, the place of mediation in conflict prevention and peace-building efforts cannot be overemphasized. We cannot say, no, it's too much, let's reduce it a bit. We can't tone it down. The place of mediation in ensuring a peaceful atmosphere or a peaceful society is something that is indispensable. We cannot overemphasize it. Therefore, it is imperative for us as a people to further deepen the practice and understanding of mediation in our society. It is for our own good. When we are able to deepen and, constantly remind the people, remind ourselves, remind our environment, and ensure that mediation is well integrated into our society, we will see that we will still be the best for it because it is for our own benefit. When mediation is put to proper and maximum usage through the effective deployment of its many useful tools of addressing grievances, building trust, and promoting dialogue and a better understanding, mediation can help prevent conflict from escalating into insurgency and even contribute to lasting peace and stability in our society. In the meantime, as we are still battling with the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria Northeast, let's continue to invest in mediation as a preventive measure. When we deepen the understanding and practice of mediation in our society, it's a significant key to building a more peaceful and prosperous world for each and every one of us. And we know we are surely, our country, Nigeria, and our individual selves and families will be the best for it. Thank you very much for your attention. I think I'll stop at this point.
Your Excellency, Mr. Aderinoye, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. I think we have a couple of questions. We have people with their hand already raised. Firstly, I would like to call on Alvin. Alvin, please, can you unmute your mic? I saw you raising hands earlier.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can. Please proceed. Okay.
Okay, I earlier had raised my hand because
yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I needed to ask if we can get the materials on either WhatsApp or email so that we can follow appropriately. Secondly, on the lecture that has just been delivered, I am so grateful to the presenter. But I see a couple of issues springing up, not just the insurgents in the Northeast. There are other issues. For instance, the traditional stool struggle in the North. Some of these things could have been taken care of ahead of time. And there are also opportunities that while we deal with the issue of insurgents in the Northeast, we can as well look at these ones that are just springing up not allowing them to escalate, and then we'll begin to mediate. Thank you.
Okay. So should we take all the questions so you document them, or you take one after the other?
Yes, let's take them so that we can address
Okay, thank
them
you.
together.
Winifred, please, can you unmute your mic?
Thank you very much. I don't know what is wrong with my video, so you may not be able to see me.
Okay.
I want to say a very big thank you to the resource person, our able chair in Abuja. That was a very good one, quite informative, very apt for the seasons that we are in. The first thing I want to talk about is security. You know, in insurgency, mediating insurgency is a very dangerous and risky one. Because on one path, you have a party that has a regimented and should I say, an army that answers to control. But on the other hand, the insurgent group, we are talking of armed army. It's not regimented. It is not in control, and they can act irrationally. So looking at the security of the mediator is very vital and key. Then the second issue I want to speak about is Boko Haram, ISWAP. I don't think now they are referred to as insurgent groups. They are terrorists. And the difference is that while the insurgent group is seeking to unseat a legal constituted government, the terrorist is only seeking by terrorizing, by putting fear in people to have its ideologies or whatever its demands are to be met. So Boko Haram, I don't think is seeking to remove the government. Boko Haram doesn't say no election. But if you look at ESN of IPOB, for example, it seeks to remove and have their own established government. That seems to be the difference between a terrorist group and then an insurgent group. So what I may humbly suggest or recommend for mediation is that before you go in, have a good analysis of the dispute, bearing at the back of your mind your safety. Any small thing. We have had some people who tried to mediate in the Southeast, for example. They were caught and they were murdered. Some were burnt alive. So a mediating insurgency is not a child's play. We don't have to just look at mediation process by the books. You must have good analysis, especially of the parties, the disputants. Establish who the arrowheads are. Establish who the main opinion holders in that insurgent group are. And then find out what their weak points or what we usually call their prize is. Take advantage of that, be able to reach out to them, and then make sure that their leaders can control the followers before you go there. You think this is the leader you are talking to, you've spoken to the leader, and the leader has assured you of your safety. If you go in and that leader is not in control of the followers, you will be in big danger. Once again, I say a very big thank you to His Excellency Aderinoye for opening up this discourse. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marvin. Thank you very much for that wonderful comment. It's very important so that we will not need another mediator for the Within the. So let's just go to the next person who raised hands. Your Excellency Adebayo Adesina, are you there? Please, can you unmute?
Yes, I'm
Adebayo
here.
Adesina, are you there?
It's Adesina,
If
sir. Good afternoon. I'm on the road.
okay,
Please pardon me. Thank you very much, our
it's okay.
speaker. It's quite
Thank you,
enlightening.
sir.
But I'm thinking in some other areas, we have spoken a lot about insurgency. But what do we term these farmers' headers conflict? Because how do we pigeonhole that? Can mediation be deployed into that? Bearing in mind that this is a hit and run matter. It happens overnight, and by the time you get there in the morning, all you see is the damages that have been done. And it's not even limited to one section of the country like the Boko Haram or ISWAP insurgency in the northeast. This happens almost everywhere in the geographical entity known as Nigeria. So can we deploy mediation? How can we go about, tackling this issue? Thank you, sir. I quite appreciate it.
Okay, the last question from the comment box is coming from Madam Ellen Kalu. Is asking Your Excellency, how do we as mediators engage the government at the inception of crisis, that is insurgents, to avoid escalation? How do mediators engage the government at the inception of crisis to avoid the escalation of the disputes?
Okay.
So I think, okay, and the last question sorry, this will be the last question because of our time, coming from Uche. He said, how can ICMC intervene in the present insurgencies in Nigeria? Or what are the solutions ICMC as a body of mediators present to the government? Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I must say that the contribution so far, the questions and the comments are indeed very encouraging, and I must thank you for that, for those comments, those beautiful comments. We do not take them for granted. To start with, the first question was on how do we look at other crises that are not insurgency related. For instance, we have the issue of kidnapping, we have banditry, we have other security challenges that are facing us as a nation. How do we deploy mediation in this aspect especially before they escalate? Well, I think this is further giving credence to preventive mediation, which I think is not being given the proper attention that it ought to be given. For instance, we are talking about before conflict escalates. So what it means is that we have to be put on our thinking caps and be creative about how we address these issues. It means that we need to look ahead. For instance, we want to envisage a problem that perhaps maybe in the next 5 years, it may not escalate. It may not even happen. And so we want to start addressing it right from now. If we look at some of the things we have talked about here, supposing the government is very, is the listening type and responsive, such that you don't allow a matter to fester for long before it is being addressed. I mean, something that I think, number one, good governance is a problem. If we don't have good governance, it's like sitting on a keg of gunpowder. The earlier we address and ensure that there is good governance, because it is good governance that can bring about, a better living condition, economic improvement and all of that. If we don't have this, the likelihood is that with time, the condition of people in the country will worsen, and the likelihood of taking up arms or taking to crime is high, will be high. So this is something that we need to do as a people. We must deploy mediation and be proactive in our identifying some of these challenges or some of these indicators that can escalate in future. So it is important that the government is responsive, is attentive, and we try to see how we can address them. Like we said, in the mediation process, we have to be attentive, listen to them, both the spoken and unspoken words or expressions. We must pay attention to them. So in our environment, if we want to deploy mediation in the society to have a better society, we must pay attention to every little details so that we can be able to take them holistically. Yes, we talked about the security of the mediator is very important that we must take note. It is when we are safe that we can be able to practice mediation and bring about a better society. So that we shouldn't compromise for whatever reason. We must pay attention to that. Okay, yes, Madam talked about Boko Haram, ISWAP, and not being a terrorist group. An insurgency, but more of a terrorist group. Actually, there is a dichotomy, which I don't think that will be a topic for another day. There is a dichotomy between the two terminologies, terrorism and insurgency. As a matter of fact, in every insurgency, there is terrorism. But you cannot say the same that in every terrorism, there is insurgency. So there's a difference, even though there is a meeting point for both, but there is a difference as well. So when we have, for every insurgency, there is terrorism. They use terrorism to, to pursue their insurgency. So for every insurgency, there is terrorism, but we cannot say that for every terrorism, there is insurgency involved. I think that it will be safe to say that at that point. Then, can mediation be deployed in farmers-herders conflict? Yes, the answer is yes. And in fact, is there anything we cannot deploy mediation? I don't think there is. There is none. Because what the end goal of mediation is peace at the end of the day. So is there anything or anybody or any situation that does not require peace? The answer is no. So there is no situation we cannot deploy mediation. And that is when, but however, when we are doing that, we must be, be deliberate about it. And we must know all those points where we need to perhaps amplify our processes or reduce or tone it down a bit. So all of this we need to know. So for instance, like the example you gave, sometimes it happens overnight. And before you come in the morning, they are gone. You don't see anyone. So, but again, if we understand the terrain where these farmer-herders clashes are happening, they know themselves. So somehow they even know, it was done by this group or by that group. And again, it's something we can really deploy mediation in it. And it's just a matter of having, what do we call it? The will, the political will on the part of our government to be ready to, see to it and ensure that these conflicts, most of these conflicts are perpetually resolved. Then how do mediators engage government to avoid escalation of disputes or crises? Well, in our own little way, to the best of my ability, I think as an individual, we have ways, like they used to say, at the grassroots. If I am at the grassroots level, I know the authorities, the government representatives that need to be, contacted whenever there is any conflict or any reason for them to be contacted. And so, as individuals, as mediators, we must be conscious of this, and we must be deliberate. I mean, it's very important that we need to be deliberate about our practice of mediation. If we want to mediate, it must be in us, and naturally that something we will be ready to do at any point in time, such that even when you are just woken up from your sleep, you can easily do this. You want to, put yourself into it, and ensure that an atmosphere of peace is something that we want to do. And so for those of us who have, some level of influence or who are also closer to the government, perhaps those of us who are working with government, one agency or the other, we must know that these are part of the things that, okay, we should be able to identify the right authorities to contact in case of any conflict or any matter coming up, depending on our location and our where we find ourselves at the time. So we should be able to deploy this, and it will be in us as long as we are mediators, and we are professional about our calling. So this will go a long way in helping us to be able to make a meaningful impact in the course of the practice, in the course of helping parties to arrive at agreement or mediate in the practice of mediation. And how can ICMC intervene in the present insurgency? Well, I'm very sure that the Institute is quite clear about how it can, intervene in all of these criteria that we have, because, of course, the goal, what the Institute intends to achieve, is a situation whereby we have a peaceful atmosphere for all and something to thrive without, let or hindrance. And so I'm aware that the Institute knows the right authority to contact or to consult, and I'm sure, I know that the Institute is actually doing a whole lot to see how it can help the government of the day in ameliorating all these insurgencies or crises or conflicts that we have around. Nevertheless, I think, moving forward from this session, I'm sure that the Institute will also be able to draw one or two things together and see how we can better our society for our own benefit, and of course, practice of mediation in Nigeria. Thank you. I think I have addressed the questions so far that are with me here. It's just shared. Hello, Joshua. I think, are you there?
He's muted. He's muted.
Good afternoon, ma.
Sorry. I believe you can hear me now. Mike was muted. I said it's an honor to have our registrar, Aisha Abdullahi, in today's webinar. But before I call out our comments, I would like to bring up Dr. Barakat Yaji and MC. And can you hear me? Okay, Your Excellency, Madam
Hello?
Barakat, please can you unmute your mic?
I can't hear.
Yes,
Hello? Hello?
I
Yes?
want to
Yeah.
our presenter. Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
ma'am.
Your
Yes, I
voice should
can
be
hear
loud.
you.
Okay. I want to thank Mr. Aderinoye for that insightful and thought-provoking lecture. However, before mediation can be deployed, we need to identify the stakeholders, the people at the forefront. Then, just like Madam Chinyere said, that when you want to go into a hot zone, war zone, you need to tread with gentility. Otherwise, one might also be affected. So, so far as mediation is the best, and it's not alien to our culture, because this is what our forefathers used for settlement of so many disputes before the incoming of litigation. So we can't divorce that in our lives, because it has become part and parcel of us, and we are just coming up to resuscitate it. So now the question is, just like the other speaker said, that it is not about religion, but it is about taking this heinous act as business. Now it has become business, because there's an event last week when I was going to Ife. Someone was telling me that one of our SAN had his sister being hosted now, and they are asking for 2 billion naira, and we were saying that we are having government. The question is, does the government want to close their eyes that they do not know these people? Then what are we having all these security agency for? Although many of them have lost their life in the attempt of getting rid of all these people, but we cannot continue folding our arms, and we all know that mediation should be the lasting solution. So I think just like Mr. Adenioye said, that we need to wear a rethinking cap, because we cannot just close our eyes to this thing. Is becoming a daily activity, so much so that most of our top people, they can no longer sleep well, because you can just hear that, okay, so and so has been also abducted. So what's the lasting solution now, coupled with the nature of mediation? Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And please can Madam Esther, please can you unmute your mic before we bring up our registrar? Please unmute your mic, Madam Esther.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much. I actually already have my comment and question in the chat box, but if I may just quickly say it, I was like, how can we prioritize mediator security to ensure effectiveness and sustainability of the mediation conflict resolution process? Because we want to go and negotiate, we want to go and dialogue with the insurgents, with all those people. I would like you to say one or two things about how our security can be ensured. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think the two questions, somehow they have a connecting point. What is the lasting solution that we can have coupled with this mediation? Well, the advocacy will continue. We will not get tired, and we are not going to lose hope. We'll continue to talk, or we'll continue to speak, and we hope that the government will find it necessary to hearken to our call and do something, because indeed, sincerely, there is I don't think there is more we can do than what we're doing. A good number of us have been, engaging government at every opportunity, and engage those that we deem fit or that we deem necessary to be engaged in addressing some of these issues. But then again, we are where we are today, but we hope that one day we'll be able to get out of it. Now, how can we prioritize the mediators, security, and insurgency, and of course, in this crisis situations that we have found ourselves? This is similar to the question that was asked earlier. I think, without prejudice to the Nigerian security agencies, I think a whole lot of efforts are being put in place to ensure that whoever is going to engage, or whoever is going to be deployed as part of addressing the security challenges that we have as a government, I think a whole lot is being done to ensure that their safety is guaranteed. I have been to the Northeast. I've been to, and I went as far as Chad, and at no point whatsoever did I felt, I can even say that there was no threat whatsoever. And all of this done with adequate security, adequate measure being put in place by the authorities. So it all depends. And a whole lot of checks are also being put in place to ensure that whoever is not supposed to be involved is not involved. And so I think as long as we're sincere and we know what we're doing and what we're after, is to ensure that how can we assist or contribute to ensure that we have a better society, a more peaceful society, where we have less conflict and less disputes. I think, and we are not relenting, I think we will get there one of these days. So I think the security of our mediators, I don't think can be jeopardized unless the mediator in or herself decide to jeopardize his or her own safety. So I think a whole lot has been done to address this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that response. Thank you so much. Well, we apologize. We've already passed the usual time for this webinar, and this is due to several questions that need to be attended to. So lastly, I would like to call the attention of our distinguished registrar, Our Excellency, Madam Aisha Ado Abdullahi. Excellency, please, can you unmute your mic? Would like to hear from, we would like to welcome you.
Thank you very much, Joshua. I hope I can be heard.
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody.
Good
afternoon, Mr. ARA. Thank you very much for this well-researched presentation. And honestly, we cannot have too much conversation on this And we are so appreciative of the fact that at least people like you haven't also expressed your personal experience, the fact that you have been there. Sometimes these things, if we rely only on a single source of information, I don't want to say the media, they do their best, especially those who report on empirical evidence, who go there and report what they find on ground. They do their best to report the activity and the events, but we need to engage, especially with our colleagues around the country, to have a better understanding of the real situation on ground, because that's the only way we can understand ourselves, our needs, our interests, and then provide solutions to these challenges. So thank you so much, our guest speaker, and thank you everybody who has joined and participated in this discussion. And we will continue to do our best as mediators to take as much steps and do as much as we can to create more harmonious coexistence among Nigerians and even beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erika. Thank you. So before we go, I would like to inform us of our upcoming courses for the sake of our members who are willing to upgrade from one cadre of membership to another. Firstly, it is important for us to know that if you're currently an associate member and you are interested in upgrading to becoming a member, that is a full member of the Institute, or you want to upgrade from member to fellow, there might be need for us to participate successfully in some of our continuing professional development course. And right on your screen is the next one, which is Mediators Inner Strength, Developing Emotional Intelligence. This is a 5 CPD unit course, and there is a discount for members. Members are to pay just a token of 20,000 naira, while non-members are to pay 35,000 naira. And this course will be happening tomorrow. So if you are interested in it, you can still make payment, and your participation in this course will grant you a 5 CPD unit. If you want to upgrade from associate member to a member cadre, you will need just 25 CPD unit. And if you're upgrading from member to fellow, you also be needing about 35 to 40 CPD units. And next on your screen is the largest ADR conference in Africa, proudly organized by the largest institute of mediation in Africa, ICMC. This is our annual conference and induction of new professionals into the institute. And the central theme for this year is rethinking mediation strategy in a turbulent world. Distinguished members of the institute, this is one of the conference you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss. The conference will hold 25th and 26th November this year in Abuja. This is a gathering of some of the greatest minds in the history of ADR in Africa. And I would like us to register when the information on registration is out. So once again, on those participants that are requesting for us to share the slide, Your Excellency, Mr. Rino, I want to ask, can we share the slide, sir?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we have a couple of emails that is already in the chat box, but I will drop the material in the chat box so that we can easily download it and go through it from our end. So now what I just did, I'm dropping the material in the chat box. I'm dropping the material in the chat box. So you'll get it soon. And lastly, before we go, for participants who are interested in getting the certificate of participation, you can send your request you can send your request to support@icmcng.org. I've dropped the email to the chat box. So if you want to get the certificate, you can send your request to support@icmcng.org. And from there, we will prepare your certificate and send to you. Certificate is just a token. To get a certificate, you have to pay a token of 5,000 naira. And if you're not in Nigeria, it's about $3 to $4 to get the certificate. Once again, on behalf of the Governing Council and the entire school of ICMC, I appreciate you for joining this webinar. My name is Joshua Adekwetu. See you some other time. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Excellency.
You're welcome.